And it hits there. This is symbolic of our prayers being answered. Our prayers go up, if you will. God sends back an answer. This is why we kind of assume, if you will, that these prayers, these specific prayers, are the prayers for justice. Because the prayers for justice are being answered and are going to be answered with the trumpet judgments. Moving on to verse 6. And the 7 angels, which had the 7 trumpets, prepared themselves to sound. They are ready. Where are we at? Trumpet judgments are ready. They are about to start. We are getting ready. The angels, they're warming up. They're preparing. Can you just imagine these angels? They're kind of psyching themselves up. They're tightening the mouthpiece of the horn, whatever you call that thing. Maybe wetting their lips or whatever. I don't know what they're doing, but they're preparing to blow. Verse 7. Now we're getting into the trumpet judgments. This is some harsh stuff, I'll tell you. Verse 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. And they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of trees were burnt up. And all green grass was burnt up. That's kind of harsh. So, the angel, first angel, he blows his trumpet for all that angel is worth. And just like the seal judgments, when the seal is broken, something happened. When the trumpet sounds, something happens. Okay? So what happens here? The first trumpet is a third of the trees and the grass is burnt up. Okay, this is the land. This is the food. Okay? Now, let's look at something. Hail and fire. Okay, this we kind of get. Maybe it might be like meteor showers, or it may literally be hail and fire. Okay? But what about the blood? Where does the blood come from? I had no idea, I'll be honest. I had to call my theologian and ask him, get his opinion. Because nothing I found said made any sense. Okay, so I called him and he's like, well, if this fire is falling and this hail is falling, what's happening to those little things that fly that we call birds? Where are they going to go? Dead. Okay? They're going to be caught. Their birds are going to be caught off guard too. They're going to be hit. So the blood from all of these things is going to fall. Okay? I was like, ew. That was my first reaction, was, okay, that's kind of gross. But that's what's going to happen. We got fire. We got hail falling down, hitting birds. Maybe hitting other types of animals, and their blood is literally falling to the earth as well. And a third of the grass, a third of the trees are burned up. That's bad. What do we need to breathe? Trees. What do animals need to eat? Grass. So what happens to our food supply? It goes bye-bye. Yeah. All of the grass.
Does that mean all the grass, just some trees?
No, it's kind of a translation issue that we have with the King James. It really is just a third of the grass. It's referring to a third of the land being burned up. Okay? That's a good question. No, I meant to point that out. Thank you. All right. So, the first thing we have a third of the grass gone. Third of the trees gone. So remember, let's go back a little bit. What happened in the seal judgments? The earth moves. Quarter of the earth is destroyed with just that. So now we got a third of the quarter. That's gone. There's not a whole lot left, is there? And that's not even as bad as it gets. It gets worse. If you can believe that, it gets worse. Verses 8 and 9. And the second angel sounded, and it was a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and a third part of the sea became blood, and a third part of the creatures which are in the sea and had life died, and a third part of the ships were destroyed. So the second trumpet judgment is a third of the ocean destroyed. Now that means the actual ocean water, the ocean life, and even the Bible goes so far to even say that a third of the ships that are going to be sailing or moving around on the water are going to be destroyed. It says there in verse 8, what happens to the sea? It becomes what? Blood. Sound familiar to anybody? Ring any bells with anybody? No? No? Think Moses and the when he's talking to Pharaoh, trying to persuade Pharaoh to let his people go. What was the first plague on Egypt? Anybody remember? That was the first one. The Nile River turns to blood. Okay? The trumpet judgments and a couple of the bowl judgments are reenactments, if you will, of the plagues of Egypt. Okay? Remember, even the first trumpet judgment that we talked about, the hail, one of the plagues was hail that killed everything that was outside. Okay? We're looking at different order, but nevertheless, it is reenactment, if you will. All right. So we have third part of the land destroyed. That's part of the food supply. We have a third part of the ocean destroyed. Anybody eat fish? Some of us. Shrimp? A lot of food comes out of the sea. So there's another part of the food supply gone. Okay, verses 10 and 11. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon a third part of the rivers and upon the mountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. The third trumpet is a third of the fresh water destroyed. Okay? What do we need to live? Water. So now part of our food is gone. Part of our water is gone. This is getting ugly. Okay? Wormwood literally means bitter or bitterness. This is kind of a reversing, if you will, of one of God's miracles. Remember when Moses was leading the children of Israel through the wilderness, and they came to a place and they needed some water, and they came to this big old pond or lake, and it was bitter. It wasn't worth. You couldn't drink it. You would get sick if you drank it. What happened? God told Moses to speak to the water, and he struck the rock, but nevertheless, the water was made sweet or worth drinking. So this is kind of a reverse of that. We have good fresh water. God is making it bitter to where we can't drink it, or people can't drink it. Okay, wormwood, or the star that is going to fall, is probably an asteroid. Let's back up a little bit. I forgot to mention this in verse 8 that talks about the great mountain burning. Some people said or would say that it's maybe an asteroid or a meteor or something like that. I don't think so, because it wouldn't describe the asteroid in verses 10 and 11 if it was one in 8 and 9 too. So I think it's probably a volcano or something like that. or maybe something man-made that could do that as well. That's something to think about. Well, verses 10. I'm talking 8 and 9. I went back a little bit. I'm sorry. I didn't make that clear. I went back to 8 and 9. It doesn't say a star fell. It just says a great mountain burning with fire. Okay, that is... Some people would say that's an asteroid or a meteor, but I don't think so, because it wouldn't describe the star falling from heaven in verses 10 and 11 as the third trumpet if the same thing was happening. It would use the same